Story recap here.
Today, I'm going to explain a sensual thriller film called The Housemaid. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. It's another busy night in the city streets. An assortment of meats is grilling on each side, all manners of seafood are poking out of their tanks, and young men and women populate the several bars and lounges in the buildings. Suddenly, a loud thud is heard from a nearby block. A young woman had jumped off a building. Slowly, the crowd starts to gather as the woman's body lay bleeding on the ground. An ambulance comes in, but with the woman already dead at that point, they can only retrieve her body. Later that night, Eun-yi persuades her coworker to drive her to the scene where the suicide took place. There, Eun-yi becomes distraught upon seeing the chalk outline of the body. The next morning, an older woman named Byung-sik, also known as Miss Cho, visits Eun-yi. She is the head housemaid of Eun-yi's soon-to-be employer. The woman explains that she wanted to see how Eun-yi lives since she wishes to be thorough about who she's hiring. Eventually, Eun-yi is hired as a live-in housemaid. On her first day at the job, Miss Cho introduces her to her new employers. First is Hae-ra, who is currently pregnant with twins. After doing Hae-ra's laundry, she then meets her young daughter Nami in the afternoon. When Nami returns from school, Eun-yi is already at the door to greet her, making extra effort to ensure that Nami notices her. After dinner, Eun-yi and Miss Cho help themselves to the excessive leftovers that the family had not eaten. Moments later, the father of the household, Hoon, arrives after a day of work. He greets Eun-yi warmly and orders Miss Cho to send up a bottle of wine once he goes upstairs. Miss Cho prepares the glasses and instructs Eun-yi to take them to Hoon. The new housemaid complies, then sets down the tray on the table while the married couple talks about Eun-yi. They mention her being a graduate of an early childhood education degree, then comment about how she'll be good with children. That evening, when Eun-yi goes to bed, Nami asks her to leave the door partially ajar so she wouldn't be afraid to sleep. Eun-yi does so before smiling at Nami, who sleeps in the adjacent room. The next morning, Eun-yi and Miss Cho prepare breakfast. Eun-yi takes the tray of food to Hoon's piano room, where Hoon is currently playing in. While he's playing piano, Eun-yi looks wistfully at her new master, and she starts to develop a crush on him. Later, the family says goodbye to Hoon before he heads off to work. In the bathroom, Eun-yi helps Hae-ra in the tub as she bathes. When evening comes, Eun-yi cleans up the tub, making sure that it's prepared for Hoon once he gets home. Hoon catches her in the middle of cleaning with her skirt hitched up high, leaving him to stand there while staring at her thighs. One day, the family decides to go to the local hot spring, and they decided to bring Eun-yi with them. With Eun-yi wearing her swimsuit, Hoon eyes her while she goes to help Nami in the pool. Later that evening, Hoon and Hae-ra are making love, but Hae-ra struggles with it due to her pregnancy. They're forced to stop, much to Hoon's frustration. When Hae-ra falls asleep, Hoon comes downstairs to find Eun-yi in her bed half naked. Realizing that Hoon is there, she covers up her body with a blanket. However, Hoon only tells her to be quiet, then gives her a glass of wine. He orders her to take off the blanket, and with that, he starts seducing her and touching her all over her body. The two of them end up sleeping together, unbeknownst to anyone in the house. The following day, Eun-yi remains warm and supportive towards the oblivious Hae-ra despite her affair with her mistress's husband. During the day, Eun-yi and Hoon act as if everything is normal, but the two of them continue to steal glances at one another. That evening, Hoon goes to visit Eun-yi in her room, and they sleep together again. However, Miss Cho was still awake at that hour, and while she's walking about, she witnesses them in the act. The following morning, Miss Cho watches Eun-yi closely. She goes to prepare breakfast, and as usual, Eun-yi would be taking the food in Hoon's piano room. Miss Cho notes that Eun-yi is wearing makeup that morning, and she watches Eun-yi from outside the piano room. In the room, Hoon hands Eun-yi her check while she's constantly smiling at him and trying to look pretty. Later, Eun-yi goes to massage Hae-ra while continuing to warmly support her in her pregnancy. The sight revolts Miss Cho, and she's repulsed that Eun-yi is so two-faced as to behave cheerfully around Hae-ra like she's not screwing her husband behind her back. After a day of work, Miss Cho makes conversation with Eun-yi while subtly trying to pry the truth out of her. Of course, Eun-yi casually dismisses her questions. Here, Miss Cho shares her negative views about working for rich people. She goes on to call the job runs, which stands for revolting, ugly, nauseating, and shameless. Eventually, Miss Cho reports the affair to Hae-ra's mother, Mi. Miss Cho tells her that she thinks that Eun-yi is pregnant and that Eun-yi herself might not know it yet. In order to confirm this, Mi plans to stage an accident. Meanwhile, Eun-yi speaks with her friend and tells her about her situation with Mr. Hoon. This surprises her friend, and she tries to dissuade Eun-yi from working there any further. Hahowever, Eun-yi doesn't heed any of her friend's advice, and she continues to work in the household. One day, Eun-yi is on a ladder to dust the chandelier. While she's in the middle of this, Mi walks by together with Hae-ra and Nami. Mi intentionally trips so she can push the ladder that Eun-yi's on. She ends up dangling from the chandelier, clinging tightly to it for dear life. She tries asking Mi for help, but the woman doesn't do a thing and even goes as far as to stop her daughter from helping as well. Eun-yi ends up falling from the second floor, and she's promptly taken to the hospital. There, she's given several tests, including a pregnancy test. Mi planned for this sudden hospital visit so they could monitor if Eun-yi really is pregnant. Back at the household, Mi reveals to Hae-ra that Hoon and Eun-yi are having an affair. Hae-ra is shocked and disappointed, but her mother cynically tells her that infidelity comes with the territory of marrying a rich man like Hoon. As for Hoon, he's unaware of all these events since he's recently left for a business trip, leaving Hae-ra and her mother to plot against Eun-yi. Overall, Eun-yi sustained minor injuries, and she's to spend the night in the hospital. Before she is discharged, Eun-yi discovers that her pregnancy test result came out as positive. She talks to her friend about having an abortion, and her friend insists that it would be best for her to quit her job, whether she goes through with an abortion or not. Back at the household, Hae-ra's ever-cynical mother tells her not to resent Hoon, as he was born getting everything he wanted, regardless if it was right or not. She goes on to explain that her mother-in-law suffered because all the men in Hoon's family were just like him, but eventually, she became respected by everyone. She told her to endure it for now, let Hoon sleep around, and one day, she'll live like a queen. That evening, Hae-ra visits Eun-yi's room while holding a golf club. She intends to smash the club against Eun-yi's head while she was sleeping, but, in the end, she couldn't go through with it. Miss Cho sees this happening and watches Hae-ra's frustration. The following day, Eun-yi tells Miss Cho that she thinks she should quit. With her growing concern for Eun-yi's safety, Miss Cho urges her to pack her things and leave immediately. Still, Eun-yi doesn't take Miss Cho's advice, and she ends up being confronted by Hae-ra and her mother within that very day. Hae-ra repeatedly slaps Eun-yi, and Eun-yi, not realizing that they know of her affair, could only bow her head shamefully and ask for forgiveness. Maid then hands her a check worth a large sum of money, demanding her to get an abortion. If she gets the baby aborted, then they can forget about the entire thing and move on. Despite Maid's insistence, Hae-ra suspects that Eun-yi won't go through with the abortion. After all, she observed that Eun-yi was close to Nami, and she would likely never give up her own child. Meanwhile, Eun-yi herself struggles with whether she wants to keep the baby or not. Miss Cho urges her to get rid of the baby so that she could be safe from the rich family since they won't stop until they get what they want. However, talking with Nami only encouraged her to keep the baby. Nami tells her that she saw Maid push her from the ladder, and Nami apologizes to her, even saying that Eun-yi is a good person. Still suspecting that Eun-yi won't push through with the abortion, Hae-ra decides to take matters into her own hands. With this in mind, she poisons the herbal medicine that Eun-yi drinks every day. Eventually, Eun-yi decides that she wants to keep the baby, and she reports this to Miss Cho. Still concerned, Miss Cho warns her that the people they're working for are dangerous. Eun-yi is liable to getting hurt if she doesn't give them what they want. While Miss Cho is loyal to her employers, she's still looking out for Eun-yi. Hoon returns from his business trip, then goes to see Hae-ra in the hospital as she's now going through labor. When the twins are delivered, Hoon visits his wife in the ward. Before leaving for home to get a change of clothes, Hae-ra kisses Hoon angrily, which confuses him. Hoon returns home to find Eun-yi in their bathtub. Outraged, Hoon asks what Eun-yi is doing there, and she answers him with the truth. She reveals that she's pregnant with his baby, and his family is paying her to get an abortion. Miss Cho comes in, and Eun-yi tells both her and Hoon that she wants to keep the baby. Suddenly, Eun-yi wails in pain as the bathtub fills with her blood. Later, while she's crumpled up in pain, she tells Hoon again that she wants to keep the baby, even promising to leave them peacefully. Knowing that the poisoned medicine might have already given her a miscarriage, Hoon agrees to keep the baby. Later in his piano room, Hoon confronts Maid about the events that transpired. He demands to know if she was the one who poisoned Eun-yi. Even though he doesn't want the baby in the first place, Hoon remains offended that his mother-in-law would poison his own child. Eun-yi is taken to the hospital, and there, she's forced to undergo an abortion without her consent, fully eliminating the possibility of having the baby. The only person to stay with her during the abortion is Miss Cho, who's now feeling remorseful about how things ended up. Eun-yi partly blames Miss Cho for what happened since she's the one who told Maid about her affair, and the woman could only apologize to her. Eun-yi tells her that she wants to get revenge somehow for what the family had done to her. Eun-yi is now back at her old apartment with her friend. During one night, her friend tells her that it would be best to just forget about the whole thing. Inconsolable, Eun-yi cries in the corner of the bed, repeating the word runs over and over again. When Eun-yi has recovered from the abortion, Miss Cho helps her sneak into the house. Here, Hoon catches Eun-yi breastfeeding one of the twins. With an increasingly unstable state of mind, Eun-yi lingers around the house while refusing to leave. The entire family gathers in the living room. Maid, Hoon, Hae-ra, Nami, and the twin babies are all there. Hae-ra orders Miss Cho to chase Eun-yi out of the house, but Miss Cho, poised and calm as ever, refuses to. She quits right there on the spot, finally having had enough of the family's immoral behavior. Suddenly, Eun-yi emerges from the second floor to torment the family by slyly talking to Nami, leading the child to ask about what happened to the baby in her tummy. To no avail, Miss Cho tries convincing Eun-yi to abandon her plan and just leave the place with her. Since Eun-yi remains dedicated to seeing her plan through, she apologizes to both Nami and her twin siblings. She asks them to never forget about her before taking a rope and hanging herself on the same chandelier she once clung to. The family could only watch in horror while Eun-yi chokes to her death, but she doesn't stop there. She lights herself on fire as the terrified family looks on, and Miss Cho simply turns around to take her leave. Eventually, the sprinklers start running, and the family finally leaves the house, too. From outside, Nami stares at the swinging and burning body of Eun-yi before her father ushers her to leave with him. The lasting scars from the horror that the family was subjected to remain. They spend Nami's birthday outdoors in the snow with everyone speaking in English. Maid is sat down, carrying the twins in both arms, her face unreadable as she stares at nothing in particular. Hoon appears overjoyed with a big smile on his face while doting on his daughter and opening the champagne bottle. Hae-ra looks drunk and detached as she sways around while singing a slow happy birthday song. Nami looks slowly between her parents before walking away from her unhinged family. While her detached mother and overzealous father each take a seat, the girl looks on in the distance. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.